Some people don't lack empathy. They lack the courage to feel uncomfortable. So they resort to performing care instead of actually offering it. Hello everyone, welcome back to Things We Say in Therapy. I am Tash and this is a space to feel seen, to learn some psychology and to self-reflect on some hard truths to improve your mental health. I am so sorry about the break last week. I have moved house and we don't have any Wi-Fi, so I'm currently trying to record on my hotspot, my personal hotspot, and the data is spotty, so I'm doing my best and hopefully we can get through this without any technical difficulties. I'm also looking a little bit rough because I've been so busy, but we're back into it today with a very interesting topic for some self-reflection. So let's get into it. Now, this episode is not about shaming anybody. My episodes are never about shaming anyone, although sometimes it may feel like that. It may trigger shame, because the topics are always so uncomfortable to listen to, and the whole point of this show is to learn how to sit in discomfort. So please know that if these topics trigger you or make you feel something uncomfortable, that is the point, but I don't want you to feel ashamed of being that way. If you identify with any of the behaviours that I talk about, that is just data to learn and grow. So most people believe that they are empathetic people. That's why we have an influx of people these days saying that they're empaths, and a lot of people are. I am, but it can be mistaken internally, and people can think that they're a really empathetic person without actually being one. It's easy to convince yourself of that when you show it on the outside, when other people view you as being that way. Now, there are so many people who view themselves as empathetic, but there are a lot fewer people in that group who can actually tolerate the discomfort of being an empathetic person. Performative empathy is the desire to be seen as caring, as if you want to be there for everybody and that you are a genuinely nice person. You want people to view you that way without any genuine feeling or follow through, without any actual discomfort. If you don't know the actual definition of empathy, because I feel like it can be misconstrued like a lot of mental health and psychology terms these days, empathy is the idea that you're able to consciously and deeply share the feelings of someone else. You can feel what they're feeling, you can put yourself in their shoes, that kind of thing. Now, if you're someone who struggles to sit in their own discomfort, it is very likely that you also cannot tolerate anyone else's discomfort and are therefore being performatively empathetic. The goal with performative empathy is social validation and self-gain. You gain the social standing of being a nice, generous, caring person without actually having to sit through pain with anyone. Now, as we continue through this episode, you might maybe see yourself in some of these behaviors. This doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean you have genuinely bad intentions for anyone else. It just makes you human. We all have the desire for a higher social standing, and that's okay. Let's sit in the discomfort together. This is uncomfortable on purpose, so let's call it like it is. So to further define performative empathy, it is scripted. You say things that you think you have to say in situations where someone else is feeling discomfort or is unhappy or in pain. It's full of politeness and social correctness and being nice, but not genuine. It's emotionally distant. You're not actually sitting with anyone in the discomfort. You're focused on appearing like you're caring. You're focused on avoiding conflict with people, soothing yourself by not entering that discomfort, by staying emotionally distant, and going back to always wanting to be saying the right thing. That means you may bend or break your morals and values depending on who you're trying to appease, instead of giving what you can authentically offer and what you authentically believe. On the other side of the coin, genuine empathy is having emotional alignment and putting yourself in the shoes of the person who's feeling the pain or discomfort. You're not saying that you understand the person, you genuinely are trying to or can understand where that person is. It's the willingness to sit with that person in their feelings of hopelessness or helplessness, their feelings of uncertainty and emotional mess. The brutal truth here is that genuine empathy is not comfortable, and that is why many people perform it instead of actually working on being able to understand people. A lot of people are privileged enough, especially online and these days, because we're able to see so much more of everyone else's lives. A lot of people are privileged enough to not have to bother learning how to be genuinely empathetic, because what affects other people doesn't affect them at all. So it's easy to ignore, and it's easy to perform for social acceptance, to look like you care without actually having to care. With social media, there's a lot of focus on social acceptance and relatability and popularity gained from looking like a genuine, caring, giving person online without actually having to do anything or feel the discomfort of others. So let's get into the psychology behind performative empathy. Why do people feel the need to look this way? And why do people struggle to be genuinely empathetic? So the first thing I have here is nervous system avoidance. Genuine empathy requires regulation of your nervous system. Many people were never taught how to stay regulated in their own pain, let alone anyone else's. Performing this empathy is a way to escape the discomfort. It's a way to end those uncomfortable emotions that we don't know how to deal with. It's a way to regain control of your surroundings and your emotions, even though that might be illusory control. Performing empathy instead of actually learning to sit with it, it helps you to not get so deep that you have to deal with the uncomfortable emotions. Number 2 is people pleasing and trauma responses. The main nervous system response I want to talk about is the fawn response. This is the desire to say the right thing in every situation so that you avoid conflict or disagreement with people. You want to appease others and make them feel good so that you don't get any repercussions and so that you feel good about yourself. It's to be agreeable and easy to deal with. Fawning is to not feel any emotional intensity so that you can remain feeling stable. A lot of people experience this. I think I experienced this also. Performative empathy in this context, it becomes a survival strategy because you want to keep others happy, but through doing this, you then lack connection in your relationships because you're not going any deeper than surface level. The third thing I have is empathy and identity. Being a nice, empathetic, caring person, it becomes an identity. You label yourself as that so that you feel good about yourself without actually having to do any of the work to be that way. And when your empathy is challenged, when conflict arises or you're made to feel like you've done the slightest thing wrong maybe, and you're not perceived as this person that you've labelled yourself as, it leads to immediate defensiveness. You listen to respond instead of to understand. It's just like any other fragile self-concept that's challenged. I've referenced many of these in my previous episodes. For example, labelling yourself as a good person but not actually feeling like one, just labelling yourself that way to be seen that way. It means that any insinuation that you've done anything wrong or that you're not that way inclined will lead to cracks in your self-identity, which leads you to become defensive and attack other people. You become incredibly insecure, and I've seen it many times. Having this performative self-identity, it protects your self-image, not your relationships. When your self-identity is easily cracked, your relationships are very fragile and surface level because you lack that sort of emotional depth with yourself and therefore with other people. The hard truth is that if your empathy collapses when someone else's pain makes you uncomfortable, it was never genuine empathy. It was just a performance to help you regulate your nervous system. So here are some common ways that performative empathy shows up. The first one is over-validating other people without any curiosity into the actual discomfort, emotions, or pain that they're feeling. Performative empathizers tend to jump straight into validating people's emotions. They validate anything without any real thought or analysis on the subject, without any real conversation, without getting deep at all. They're those people that you go to simply because they'll tell you what you want to hear, not because they're actually going to give you some sound advice or listen to you. We all know those people. They always have a million best friends. Another common pattern of performative empathy is constant reframing of the subject or toxic positivity. They will be uncomfortable with anything that causes discomfort, with whatever emotion is being displayed, and therefore desperately try to reframe the situation. They'll try and change your mindset so that you're no longer feeling the discomfort or pain, so that they don't have to feel the discomfort or pain. I've actually noticed myself doing this countless times with people I care about. Before I realised that it was such a subconscious practice to perform this empathy when you're uncomfortable with difficult emotions, I didn't want to accept that the people that I loved were in pain or struggling, and so I would drastically try to get them to be happy or fix whatever they were going through in order for them to feel better, so that I no longer had to feel uncomfortable with their scary emotions. It's an attempt to control the surroundings so that you don't have to feel uncomfortable. It is really difficult, and it doesn't make you a bad person, but it does cause the other person who is having a difficult time to feel very dismissed, and it is harmful to them, and it's likely that they'll no longer come to you with their problems because you kind of just shut it down as an attempt to make them feel better and yourself, but it is selfish and unhealthy for both parties. Doing this could sound like at least statements, at least this isn't happening, or at least you have this. Using these statements can be okay when the other person wants a solution and wants to distract themselves or feel better, but if you're doing this consistently without any kind of curiosity or digging deep into the issue, having a proper conversation, then that's where the problem lies. It's fixing disguised as caring because you're only really offering solutions instead of engaging deeper in the conversation. This could also sound like making it about your feelings, saying things like, I hate seeing you like this is hard for me too. It induces guilt in the other person for feeling normal emotions, and it teaches them that you're not a safe person to go to, as well as making them feel like a burden. Performative empathizers also use emotional bypassing, which is saying things like, everything happens for a reason, try to look on the bright side. All of these things, they skip the emotional processing, which is why people who are struggling or in pain want to talk to others, because it helps you to process emotions, and that in itself makes you feel better. So if you emotionally bypass, you don't actually talk about anything that's actually going on before you move on to solutions and trying to distract and feel better, then you don't deal with any of the emotions. And that is the goal of the performative empathizer, because they don't want to feel those emotions. And so they're therefore trying to get you to not feel those emotions. Healing and processing difficult emotions, it requires feeling them before reframing them. Empathy that jumps ahead into reframing, it's just avoidance of the actual feeling of the emotions. And it's disguised as wisdom and positivity and looking on the bright side, because those people struggle to sit in discomfort. When we're being performatively empathized against, it feels invalidating because the person struggling feels rushed and dismissed, emotionally unseen, or like their feelings are an overreaction because the other person's framing it as if it's not really a big deal and you should just move on or look on the bright side. The long-term impact of being treated this way when you go to people about things you're struggling with is you stop opening up to people, and you're taught that you can't trust your own instincts and your own emotions. It's like you should just shut anything uncomfortable down. This is why kids of parents who had never dealt with their own emotions struggle so much opening up today and feel like there's just no point, because they were taught to just shut everything down all the time. It leads to isolation, it leads to feelings of loneliness, anxiety, depression. When you don't deal with these things, it comes out in other ways and it comes out worse. Every single time. You have to learn to sit with discomfort. Don't listen to people who try and minimize your feelings. Everything you feel is valid. Empathy that rushes to a resolution is about your comfort, not about caring about other people. It does feel uncomfortable when loved ones aren't doing great. That is never going to change. It's never going to be enjoyable and it's never going to be easy. But it does get easier when you learn to sit in your own discomfort, because you're therefore then able to sit in other people's discomfort. Now let's talk about why genuine empathy feels intimidating and scary and difficult. Learning to be genuinely empathetic and sit in discomfort, it requires you to let go of that illusionary control that you have when shutting down anything uncomfortable. If you have to shut down discomfort in order to feel stable, you are not stable. You need to accept that you're not going to know what to say sometimes. Sometimes it's going to be awkward. Sometimes you're just going to have to sit in the discomfort. You're not going to have all the answers and you're not going to be able to be the fixer. You're not going to be able to be that person anymore that rushes to help other people and find solutions for everything. Because a lot of the time when shit things happen, you do just have to deal with it. You can't just fix it and move on. Many people equate silence with failure and fixing things with love. But sitting with somebody in their discomfort is not unhelpful. It's not being a bad partner or sibling or parent or friend. Sitting with someone else in their discomfort and unpacking difficult emotions with them is one of the most comforting things you can do for somebody. They won't feel alone. They can feel totally comfortable with you, and it's beneficial for relationships as well. It makes connection absolutely thrive. Empathy isn't about saying the right things. It's not about showing how much you care about somebody. It's about having that emotional capacity to share discomfort with someone. So here are some brutal truths that I'm going to let you sit with. You can be kind and still be emotionally unavailable. You can be nice performatively, but that doesn't necessarily make you a kind or open person. Saying that you understand doesn't mean you do. I know that I have definitely told other people that I understand what they're going through as a tool to help them feel comfortable without actually understanding them at all. It's to feel like I'm helping them. But that doesn't do anything. If you don't actually understand people, if you don't understand what they're going through, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're not a caring person. Having good intentions for somebody doesn't repair emotional harm. Being seen as caring is not the same thing as being connected to someone. And if empathy feels effortless, if it feels like you can just dip in and dip out, consider whether that's just emotional avoidance. So let's move on to the best bit. How to move from performance to actually being present in empathy. You need to start by checking yourself. Nothing is going to change if you don't acknowledge what is going on inside and reframe it. You need to learn to deal with your own discomfort before you deal with other people's. Ask yourself things like, am I trying to end this feeling instead of feeling it? Am I listening to other people to prepare a response, or am I listening to try and understand? Am I more focused on sounding supportive than being present? You need to replace those automatic validation scripts that everyone has with genuine curiosity of what that person is going through emotionally. Don't just jump straight into, oh, I understand. Oh, it's okay. Oh, I know exactly how you feel. It's not about you. It's about them. Allow there to be silence. Allow yourself to just sit in the discomfort with this person. It doesn't have to be an immediate fix, an immediate do this, do that. This will make you feel better. Name your emotional limitations. If you don't understand, tell them. Tell them, I don't totally understand what you're going through, but I want to, and I'm here to listen. Stay with them even when there's nothing to fix or do or say. And ask other people what they need instead of just assuming. In order to self-reflect on performative empathy, ask yourself, where have I performed care? Self-awareness is key. Whether you're the person who's performing the empathy or whether you have people in your life that are performative empathizers and they're not safe people to go to, it is not your place to fix them. But awareness is going to be extremely beneficial in your relationship with yourself and your loved ones. Thank you so much for listening to episode 19 of Things We Say in Therapy. Please go and find my socials, help support the show. I post clips on honest conversations about mental health and self-reflection. Don't forget to come back on Thursday for another snack-sized deep dive. We have mini little deep dives every week into a specific topic that I think would be helpful to talk about that affects many people. Remember that some people don't want connection. They just want to be seen as safe. If this felt uncomfortable, that means something clicked. Sit with it. I'll see you again. Bye.